In this next part of our number guess app project, we'll start creating a function with conditional code that will go through and make sure that our user input is actually a valid number between 1 and 20. It will give the user some feedback if it's not. It will also keep track of the guesses and will change our game over value just in case the game is over at this point. Let's go ahead and jump in and get started coding. Let's scroll down in your code and tap right behind the curly brace on line 65 below that code that's showing our target number on the screen. Tap behind line 65 and then go ahead and tap return twice to add a blank line in there. On line 67, let's add a comment. So start with 2 backslashes and a space. This next chunk of code is going to be a function to check the user's guess. And then you can tap return at the end of that line. On line 68, we're going to define our function. So start with the keyword func. When you see that pop up on the code snippets, go ahead and tap return. Our function is going to be called checkGuess. We're going to make it simple and really clear about what this function is doing. And then let's put some parentheses behind that function name. Functions have parentheses behind the name. We're going to see some error messages on the screen. They will resolve themselves in a moment. Go ahead and tap behind that closing parenthesis and put a space in, and then let's add an opening curly brace. That's going to give us the closing curly brace. Our error messages should also disappear off our screen. And then let's tap return to move that closing curly brace down and to give us that blank line in between where we're going to type some code that's going to run every time that we call this function checkGuess. On line 69, let's add a comment. So let's start with 2 backslashes and a space. This next chunk of code is going to make sure the input is a valid number between 1 and 20. Then we can go ahead and tap return at the end of that comment. Okay, on line 70, we're going to type some code that's actually going to check these conditions. So let's use a guard let statement. We're going to start typing the keyword guard. That's going to pop up on our code snippets. We can go ahead and tap return on that. And then we're going to type let and guess. So we're going to set the value of our guess variable now at this point. We're going to use our assignment operator, the equal sign, and we're going to set that value equal to our user's guess with some conditions. So we want that guess to be an integer, so type int with a capital I, and let's choose from the code snippets the int with parentheses. Go ahead and tap return, and then tap inside of those parentheses. And the value that we want to check is our variable user guess. So go ahead and start typing user guess. You'll see that pop up on your code snippets. Go ahead and tap return. We're checking to make sure that that user guess is actually an integer, a whole number, and that our user didn't just tap a letter or something like that. Go ahead and tap behind those parentheses. Again, we can ignore the error message for right now. We're going to add some more conditions, so type a comma. We also want to make sure that guess, so go ahead and tap return when you see that pop up. We want to make sure that that is greater than or equal to 1. So type greater than or equal. We do mean equals here. We want to make sure that it's greater than or equal to 1, so they can't guess 0. And let's add one more condition. So add another comma. We also want to make sure that guess, go ahead and tap return when you see that on the code snippets. It should be less than or equal to 20 to be in our range of 1 to 20. So type the less than symbol and the equal symbol. And then 20 is our top number. All right, so this guard let statement is going to check the value of guess. It's going to make sure that that user's guess is an integer, that it's greater than or equal to 1, and that it's less than or equal to 20. Checking for all three of these conditions, and then assigning that value to our variable guess. Now, if these conditions are not met, then we want to run some code. So we're going to add an else in here and an opening curly brace. That's going to give us a closing curly brace. We can go ahead and tap return to move that closing curly brace down. Again, we're going to get an error message. That will take care of itself in just a minute here as we finish up our code. All right, so we're running checks, guard let. This guard let statement is going to check that user's guess to make sure it's an integer, a whole number, actual number that is greater than or equal to 1, and that it's less than or equal to 20. And if it's not, then on line 71, we want to change our feedback. So go ahead and start typing in feedback. You'll see that pop up on the code snippets. Go ahead and tap return. We're going to use the equals sign, our assignment operator, to set a new value for feedback. So we're going to assign a new value to feedback, add a space on the right side, and then we're going to change that feedback. It's going to be text. So we're writing a string, so we need quotation marks. Add an opening quotation mark that's going to give us a closing quotation mark. And the feedback that we want to appear on our screen is please enter a valid number between 1 and 20. Now we still have an error message, so let's tap behind that closing quotation mark and tap return. And now we want to return a value. So type the word return. That'll pop up on your code snippets. Go ahead and tap return on return to add that code in. That takes care of our error message. All right, so we have this guard let statement. It is checking that user's guess to make sure it's an integer, that it's greater than or equal to 1, that it's less than or equal to 20. If it's not, it's giving the user feedback to input a valid number, and then it's returning that value, that valid number. Okay, go ahead and tap behind that closing curly brace on line 73, and let's tap twice to leave a blank line in there. Next, we're going to increase our guess count. We're keeping track of how many guesses we're allowing our user to make, and then we will cut that off at some point. We won't let them have unlimited guesses here. So on line number 75, let's type a comment. Let's start with 2 backslashes and a space. Our comment is going to be, this next chunk of code is going to increase the number of guesses used by 1. Go ahead and tap return. On line 76, let's start typing our variable guess count. You're going to see that pop up on your code snippets. Go ahead and select that and then tap return to insert that code. Let's put a space in there, and we're going to increase that guess count by 1. So let's type plus equals. That will take the current value of guess count, and we're going to add 1 to that to get the new value of guess count. Then go ahead and tap return twice to leave a blank line in there. At this point, we've got our first part of our checkGuess function written, where we're checking to make sure that the user's guess is actually a valid integer, valid number between 1 and 20. If it's not, we're giving them feedback, and we're increasing our guess count. In the next part of our number guess app project, we'll start writing the conditional code that will check the user's guess and compare it to our random secret number to see if the user got their number right, if it's too low, or if their guess is too high.